about to start. Yes.
When were we supposed to give you our tests?
A week ago.
Huh?
Week ago.
Okay. I think because I didn't have a specific date in mind that you asked for the Dafka, so I just...
All right. With no further ado, we are going to finish the handout that I gave last week, which was called Maisa Shabbos. Let's start with number 7. If somebody washed clothes b'mezid on Shabbos, we all know what b'mezid means, yes? Is that a yes?
B'mezid is not loud.
B'mezid is on purpose. He may never wear them until he dirties them and washes them again. You understand? The whole point is you can't benefit. So even if it's a week later, you're still benefiting. The only way to what? All right, b'mezid, not b'shagi. B'shagi, you can benefit right after Shabbos. B'mezid, you cannot benefit at all from the item. Now, the truth is the item itself existed before, so that's why you have to dirty it and then wear it again. Okay, Maisa Shabbos of Bein Hashmashos. That means something was done either in the beginning of Shabbos or in the end of Shabbos, during the time period between the stars, so the sun setting and the stars coming out, is Mutter B'di Even. This is all from the Yalkut Yosef. Because he says it's a suffix derabanan. Right? The Isser of benefiting from Maisa Shabbos is derabanan, so you can make on a doubt. He says only b'shas adchak, because the main halacha is like the Go'onim.
Both of them? Meaning both Zmanim b'shas adchak?
No. Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam is only b'shas adchak.
L'chatchila until the Zman Go'onim and b'diavad b'shas adchak?
No. L'chatchila, we're talking about Maisa Shabbos, which is already b'diavad. We're not talking about any l'chatchila. You cannot do any malacha l'chatchila. We're talking about after you already did it. So now that it's done, you can use it according to, you can use it if it's regular Ben Hashmashos.
I did see there was a few cases of l'chatchila you'd be allowed to use them.
By what?
No, there's the lashon l'chatchila. Meaning, obviously, l'chatchila do it. That's all these cases there are also.
I understand. Shas al-Chak, it's all b'diavad. The question is b'diavad or Shas al-Chak? In other words, in addition to the fact it's already done, it's a Shas al-Chak, meaning to say the thing is very important and you need it and whatever. Okay. So, there is a machlokes of the achronim if you have to kasher the keli or not. And it's better to be strict and kasher it. Again, this is the person himself who is forbidden to benefit forever from it. So that flavor in the keli, it's better to kasher it and get rid of the flavor. Okay, now when I was in yeshiva in Migdal HaEmek, so there was one of our mashpiyim, one of our teachers, who actually did not use electricity on Shabbos. He had candles, only candles in his house. And that was the position of many Haredim, probably most Haredim, in the beginning of the establishment of the State of Israel, maybe even before that, based on the fact that the people working in the electrical factories are Jewish people, mostly, unfortunately, and they are working on Shabbos, so you cannot benefit from Shabbos work on Shabbos.
All over Israel?
All over Israel. This was the position of most Haredim for many years. The only exception was the refrigerator, which is not considered like a clear hano, because the refrigerator doesn't do anything, it just maintains the food, keeps it fresh, it doesn't actually change it. That was the only thing. Besides, there were some people that got their own generators, some cities, like villages, like Kfar Chabad, for example, has its own generator and so on. But Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach came out with a very significant kula, which made life a lot easier for a lot of people. And he said that the electricity station is doing a permissible thing because they are, I'm sorry? Exactly. They're actually providing electricity for hospitals, as well as the street lights, which are essential for security. Because, as unfortunately as many attacks as happen as do, it would be much worse if it was dark. So therefore, they consider it, he considers the fact that they're doing it actually to be permissible, because you can't just do it for one place. You're doing it for those things, and it goes for permissible and forbidden. And based on that is why most Haredim now are lenient about it, although some are still strict, and still a good thing.
So it's okay, Rabbi.
Yeah,
Because of
it is okay. It is okay. Some are strict, but the Ikar Adin is that it's okay. Question?
The necessity to kasher the kli.
Mm-hmm.
If the food is kosher, but it was technically not obviously done in the right time, so why would that have anything to do with the kli?
If the food is forbidden, it's not kosher. How do you define the word kosher?
The same food. Saying like chametz on Pesach is not kosher.
Not kosher. We define kosher as permissible to eat, and not kosher as not permissible to eat. It's not about nevela or treifa or basa b'chalav or orla or truma or any specific thing. So if you're not allowed to eat it, it's not kosher. It's not kosher for you.
So is the same halakha to kashrut the kli?
Yeah, you should kasher the kli. If a person cooked on purpose on Shabbos, he should kasher for himself. Other people can benefit anyway, but he should kasher.
It's in.
Question? No. Okay. So.
And it's totally permissible for them, totally kosher.
What's that?
For the other people, because they.
The only exception, we mentioned this last week, is if it's people who are not religious doing it for other people, then there is reason to say that those people that they're doing it for can never benefit from it. Because the whole reason we're lenient about that is because they're not going to listen. But here they're not religious. They're clearly going to listen. They're going to do it. So therefore, there's reason to be strict about that. Which is why we said, Rabbi Yosef says not to buy, I mean, this is common practice in the Haredi world, not to buy anything made on Shabbos. Because they made it for you. I mean, the public. You're part of the public, so they made it for you. And even if there's a mixture of, you go to the supermarket, the things could have been made on Shabbos or on Sunday or on any other day of the week, but it's better to be strict, especially if it's going to pressure the company to be Shomer Shabbos. That's why you'll find a lot of products that say on it, made with, made in accordance with Shabbos, or printed on paper that was not manufactured on Shabbos, and so on and so forth.
But practically speaking, it's impossible to know every single company.
That's part of the hechsher. What do you mean?
Right.
A hechsher gives a hechsher to that. That's what we're talking
Of course, the hechsher gives a
If
hechsher.
it's walking on Shabbat,
Right,
it's no hechsher.
the hechsher knows, yeah.
about. Yeah.
Right.
And even non-food items.
Right.
If it says it, that's it should be under some kind of supervision. Question? No. Okay. If a person turned a light on by mistake, nobody's allowed to benefit from that light. What does it mean, benefit from the light? First of all, you don't have to leave the house. That's a rule. The Chachamim did not bother a person to leave the house, even if the light is on and he's not allowed to benefit from that light. The only thing is that he should not do anything that he would not have been able to do without the light. If without the light he couldn't read, he shouldn't read. If he wouldn't be able to find his keys, he shouldn't get his keys, and so on and so forth. Some say that learning by the light is not considered benefit because mitzvahs lav lehonis nitnu. Mitzvahs are not for the purpose of benefit. It's for the next world, spiritual benefit, not physical pleasure. Although Bavadia, whoever the son says, better to learn something you don't enjoy.
Because if you turn it on the Isser?
Yeah.
Or Bishogig?
Yeah. Anybody, even not the person, even somebody else, can benefit. Or for that matter, if you fix the electricity in the house and the light is included in that, the same thing. If the electricity in the neighborhood was fixed, there is room for leniency because there could be sick people in that neighborhood who need the electricity. Now there is a machlokes he brings about misasek. Is misasek considered an isser on Shabbos or not? Misasek is when you don't even realize you're doing what you're doing, as opposed to a regular shogeg, which is you're turning the light on, but you forgot it's a Shabbos. Momentarily you forgot it was Shabbos, or it's Shabbos, but you forgot that this particular activity is forbidden. Hello? Oh, you're outside the front door?
Come in the back.
Okay, I'll be there.
Oh, no.
I'll be there in 1 second.
No. You have to talk to him. Yeah, you have to talk. Come in, they want to talk to him. Extra?
Last week, yeah. Yeah, it's the same one from last week. Yeah, last week.
Wall Street. Yep. Okay, I'll go back and look on it. The test that he sent you? I saw it. I saw there was a test. And it disappeared. Couldn't find it. I don't know. I wasn't planning to take it anyway, but I like to read it so I know, what I'm talking about. Smarty pants over there. Oh, yeah. No? This is leftover the bagels?
Gotcha.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
2 days thought, you want to try?
No thanks.
Why not?
Good. It looks like cereal to me. My kids used to call me the cereal killer. They used to sit in the box, Roy said just the way he goes and eat. And you sit there and eat a whole box of don't stop.
You used to have a box of cereal in the trunk.
Cereal
You
killer.
used to keep a box of cereal in the trunk, right?
No.
Or
That
back
I
seat?
never did.
That you never did. Hats. Yeah, hats in the back, right down there.
Well, I didn't eat
Baseball
that.
cap?
I didn't eat that at all. I watch news or something, I sit there, or some other program, I sit there.
We can do that too.
It was good. It was good stuff. No, this is, come on. Is this a sugar on it? Okay. Now you're good. I'm trying to lose my corporation. They told me, invest in a corporation, you never lose. You know the date you got that? This is just the date? That's the date that's. Let me take a look, see if I can find it. Sometimes what he says something, he says, for tonight or whatever it is, and there's a thing on it, but I don't see it on these. Oh, yeah. This is July 10th, you're saying?
No, this one is on the 12th. All right, now.
It's always an email, right?
right, sorry, that was a shaila I had to take care of. All right. We're actually doing the handout that I sent last week, the Ma'aser Shabbos handout.
Amen.
Wednesday, which next week?
We finished, let me see. We finished about Ma'aser Shabbos, and we got up to Bishul, but let me tell you which sefer in a second. We're up to Siv Zayin. We did not start with Siv Zayin, the Alter Rebbe, yeah. Chaber, I think it's Daled. Okay, so I know it's Gimel the Mechaber. Okay, talking about Misasik. Misasik means that a person did not even know what he was doing, as opposed to a person who actually forgot it was Shabbos, forgot it was Asik. He didn't know what he was doing. The example is in the Gemara. Let's say he's cutting tomatoes, and he thinks those tomatoes are disconnected from the ground. He's having a picnic, and he brought his tomatoes and he's cutting, and he didn't realize that right next to where he's cutting there's a tomato growing, and he's cutting a connected tomato. You understand? So he didn't know Melacha neither. He didn't know at all that there was any issue. Or, for that matter, something that's practical more than having a picnic with tomatoes is if a person brushes up against a light switch and he turns it on. So there was no intention at all. So that's called Misasik, and there's a machlokes in the Achronim if that is considered an Aveira at all. And therefore, there is room to be lenient and allow benefit from it, because perhaps it's not even considered a shogig.
Sometimes the kids running, and they're bumping each other in the field.
Same thing.
Same thing.
And the same is also if a person walks into a room and causes the light to go on, like the automatic lights. Also, that's Misasik.
Sometimes I walk in on the street and I don't know that the light, the neighbor is.
Yeah.
So there's no avera for that.
Didn't you say the thing was if you didn't even know you did it? If you walked in and the light went on, you knew you did it, even though it was unintentional.
No, you didn't have any intent to do it. You know afterwards that you did it, of course. You know you did it. And the same thing when you brushed up against the light, you know you did it, but there was no intent at all.
If it's your plans to the house every Friday, every shop.
You should go around the other way.
But this, you don't have it.
You forgot, then you go in again.
The difficult shaila. There was a heter that Rav Vosner gave to a shul in London that the neighbor wanted to make trouble, so he set up a light. Anybody who walked to the shul had to cause the light to turn on. Very troublesome neighbor. And Rav Vosner gave a heter because he said that the act of walking is not considered an act of turning on a light. It's too different. I mean, besides the fact that you don't attend it and you don't benefit, it's a psikresha that you have no benefit from, and so on and so forth. Besides all of that, his argument was that the action of walking is not considered an action that's related to turning on the light. And he was lenient. It's a very big chiddush.
This would be the other, right?
It wasn't. It was a shas al chak. It wasn't a b'diavad. It was a shas al chak. It wasn't b'diavad. You could not go to shul, but that's a shas al chak. You understand?
You have to walk around.
Yeah. I'm saying, especially because Rav Vosner's chiddush is a big chiddush. It's not a simple thing.
On the street that I live on, to get to my road,
Yeah.
there's a very long road with a lot of different houses that have those lights on when I walk on the sidewalk.
Uh huh.
So I try to walk on the street.
Uh huh.
I didn't feel so comfortable when I was with my mom and my son.
It's dangerous.
Uh-huh.
Right. It's just a bit dangerous.
Uh-huh.
So you keep going on the sidewalk. Don't worry. You don't pay attention to light it. Rabbi said that.
Rav Shlomo has paskin, and that's it. He even quoted me. He even quoted me.
You mentioned Rabbi just a second ago.
I said Shas
there,
Adchak.
right?
Shas Adchak.
Fuck. If they, God forbid they go in the street, they can be dangerous over there.
Depends on the situation.
It's called Shabbat Chak, Rabbi.
Depends on the situation.
What do you suggest? In my mother's building.
If your child can go ahead of you, that's even better. Oh, he's in a carriage. He's young. Okay. No, pushing the same that's the same as you.
Oops. My mother's building, they have a light that turns on every floor that you go down the stairs. So there's no other way to leave the building. Elevator or the stairs.
Wow.
Is there an elevator?
Yeah.
And is she on a high floor?
16th floor.
That's a tough one.
You once told me, Rabbi, that it's better to have someone push the button.
Sorry, I can't hear the question.
What's that?
Compared to every time you turn the light on.
That's an interesting psak.
Stay home, Shabbat.
I know, it's an interesting psak. The question was a person who lives in a building where the lights turn on as you walk down the stairs. Each floor, as you walk onto the floor, the lights turn on. So what was the psak?
Going Thursday, broke all the light bulbs.
Better
Push
to,
the elevator button once.
for a Jew to push it?
No, go ahead.
A goy. Oh, okay.
I'll go ahead. Thank God. Except for the people who I was with, and they went for Shomer Shabbos, so it wasn't a problem.
I see.
But like you're saying, when I walk the steps, so you start walking up, and the light turns on. There's landings, and each landing the lights go on. And I said I have to go to the 9th floor. So when I came back, I asked her, I believe you said that you're better off having someone doing it once than doing it a number of times.
Oh, stay home.
Well, it's also that's the guy and this is you.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
So, Rabbi, you stay home, it's better?
Stay home would be better, yeah.
What about
Again,
when
it
she has
depends
wedding,
on the
wedding and
situation.
Shabbat Chatan, Shabbat Kala, what about-
Then she should call me when she has a wedding.
There's a wedding, you go to shul Shabbat.
Shabbat Chatan.
Hundreds of Jews in the building.
Women don't have to go to shul.
No. I was still on. I was about to live with no, whatever. I didn't live with her, but Shabbat was with her.
They have a bris in Shabbat. They have a
What
bris.
was the psak of that, Rabbi?
You don't have bris
There's
on
no
Shabbat?
psak, not from this rabbi. It's a difficult situation, I don't know.
What would be the difference between that and the case of Bosnia?
That's different. I mean, there was no benefit from the light in that case. I mean, the street had regular street lights. The guy set it up just dafka to anger them, you know what I mean? Here, I mean, generally you want that kind of light, you know what I mean? It's hard to say that it's
You could
not.
also go down the stairs of that light.
You could. It's more difficult.
What's happening if Rabbi, if the
I
goy,
mean, Rav Vosner's svara helps. You know that walking is not associated with turning on a light. It helps, but I'm not sure if he would agree in this case, where it seems to be a benefit.
Rabbi, what's happening if the goy go ahead of you in downstairs?
Yeah, if the guy goes ahead of you, that would be nice. That would be that's the way to go.
Very not practical, you're right.
For the right price, anything's practical.
I mean, the problem is more like because you're enjoying the action or the action itself that you're causing.
It's both. Enjoying it makes it that it's
In this case, they're just going to close your eyes and go down with your eyes closed.
maybe that's better.
If it's
And what's happening if you have a hole over there?
Maybe
You go
that's
down
better.
16 floors.
voice more like critical, like you're enjoying the action or the action itself.
The action itself is, of course, the most important thing. But when you enjoy it, then it's more problematic because there is a heter psikresha d'lo nichale. When something is not a direct action and you don't need it at all, you don't benefit from it at all, it's less strict. It's deravanan, whatever. It's more
Like the one
So
across from
that-
the
that
synagogue,
also-
it's not enjoyed. You don't need that for crossing the synagogue.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of that, if a person walks into a room and causes a light to go on, he's stuck in the bathroom. He went into the hotel in the bathroom. He didn't realize, and now the light's on. As long as he's in there, the light's on. Till he leaves. When he leaves, the light's going to go off.
Not right away.
It will go off.
Does he know for sure?
He doesn't know.
He knows. He knows. That's the situation.
He closed the door and he writes sound.
He has to wait
Do
for
not
someone
go
to walk
inside.
in, maybe. No?
Oh, so if he waits for somebody to walk in, that's the best. If he can call, I'm sorry. There are hotels that have sensors that when you walk into the bathroom, the light turns on. It stays on until you leave. You leave, it turns off. So what do you do on Shabbos? So the best thing, Yalkut Yosef says, is to, sorry?
No, but it's a public
It's
place.
too late. You're already in there. You're already there. You don't have scotch tape. It's Shabbos. You're stuck.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Now
problem.
you wouldn't have walked in the first place if you knew the light was going to go on.
You gotta go.
You're allowed to?
The Kitzer, he says, get somebody else, call a goy to come in, and then you leave, and he leaves, and it's not
How do
your
you know
problem.
it's going to be a goy that's going to come in? That's the problem. If you call,
You keep calling. until
if
the
you
door comes.
call and you say, can someone come in here? How do you know it's not going to be a
Are
gig?
you-
It's not from.
Are you calling Shabbat? You're stuck in the bathroom by
No,
yourself.
call like with your voice, not on the phone.
Who is going to hear you from the bathroom?
I don't know.
On the 16th floor. I mean, you can scream it to Hashem only.
I don't know.
No. It's a public bet.
I don't know the answer. So,
Public bet. Right?
in a case of great distress, he says you can be makel and leave. It's Friday night and nobody's coming, and you're going to spend, what are you going to have to stay there the whole Shabbos? So there's room to say
What is that?
Yeah.
it's a psikresha delay nichale. It's not really a derabanan. It's really actually no. I take it back. I take it off as derabanan because you don't create any kind of coal when you do that. And you could also say it's like a shinui, like we said from Avozar. It's not the normal way to turn off lights. So a whole bunch of things
At
together.
what point do you determine distress, though? Is it a timing thing? Is it a
Timing thing certainly counts. I mean, if it's
10 minutes, half an hour?
exactly. If it's
What about if
It's
you're
also stressful.
what
I'm
if
sorry?
you're visiting somebody in the hospital on Shabbos?
If somebody's in the hospital on Shabbos, yeah, go ahead.
So if you go to visit them, there's always these electronic doors to get in and out and stuff like that. So you want to get in, but you have all these issues.
Right. So if a guy walks in, you could sneak in behind him. If a Jew walks in, he brings a machlekes if you can sneak in behind him.
How do you
Because
know?
some say,
If he has no kippah, you don't
asking a
know.
question, I'm telling you the fact. You can figure it out as you wish.
If you're beside him, I understand, but if you're behind him, then he walks in and you're the last one and then the door shuts because you moved away.
No. There's
It will shut anyway.
There's a time delay. There's a time delay.
There's a delay on it.
Time
Yeah,
delay.
There might be a delay, but you're the one who was the last one.
That doesn't make a difference.
Oh, no problem.
No, all you did was delay what it was going to do anyway. You didn't cause it to close. It was going to close anyway. You delayed it to close. That's no problem. You're allowed to delay a malacha from happening.
What if it read that you were there with like a laser or a light? That's usually what happens.
Yeah, but that
After
doesn't.
the last person went in, it'll shut off.
I understand, but that's some kind of internal thing in a machine somewhere. There's no recognizable, imprint.
What, like one of those Shabbos light switches?
Shabbos light switches. What?
I'm just steching. Those things, because it's a sealed unit. Those light switches that people have made that people say are okay on Shabbos.
I don't think anybody says that it's okay.
Well, okay,
That's manufacturers.
Manufacturer.
No, I don't
yeah,
think.
but one of the reasons that they say that is because it's all a sealed unit. I think.
Are they out? Are they being used?
I don't think anybody uses them.
In some homes,
No, in London nobody uses them.
They were a bust.
as long as you open the closet door. the light will go on. You close it, the light goes up. That's.
So then you just leave it
I had
open.
that problem, what do you call it, where I was in a hotel, and I realized that was happening
Yeah.
before Shabbos. I was gonna leave my kaput in there, so I decided to leave the door open. And then for some reason I walked by, and I saw just by me walking by, the lights would go on and off. So I took the kaput out before Shabbos.
Okay.
In Israel, I used to live in third floor, and you have a small switch, you know, the red one.
Yeah.
So I would put
those old
a
buildings.
toothpiece over there and for all the Shabbat.
Those old buildings in Israel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't know. The light doesn't stay on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You no, there's a small
Walk in, it's
switch.
pitch dark.
You put a small toothpiece over there and it stay.
Yeah.
Human nature, a lot of times when someone turns on the light, they instinctively turn it off,
Yes.
right? They think they did something wrong. Oh,
That happens too.
that happens a lot.
But you can buy, by the way, these Shabbos protectors.
Yeah.
They just snap right on. They're magnetic. They snap right over your thing. But you have to take them off Sunday to Friday. If you leave them on a whole week, then it doesn't help you because it stops reminding you.
No, you don't use the light switch.
You from turning on the
There's
light.
no point. The whole point is it's a light switch that you do use, and you have to remember not to. Question?
If you're allowed to trigger the motion and to cover it during Shabbos,
Which?
in the case that you're stuck in the bathroom, right? You put something to leave it on, you cover the motion.
Yeah. If you can, you're allowed to call something to stay on. It's not a problem. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if putting a tissue is going to make a difference. But I don't know.
Whatever, like, whatever.
If you can trick it to thinking you're still there, yeah, that's fine.
It's second nature to go into the bathroom and turn the light switch on, but it wasn't your intention at all. Whenever you open the door, you just go like this to turn on the light switch.
That's a shogeg.
It's not fantastic.
No, it's not methodic.
That's a condition.
It's something you're so used to doing, so you don't think about
Especially in
it
the middle of the
thinking,
night.
but you still an intended action.
Every Shabbat I'm
So
stopping
you said
myself.
there's a case with a-
Automatically I go like that. I stop before.
You should tape it. You should tape it or buy those Shabbos protectors. Question? No.
Spoke here about the case of
Very big problem.
putting a pot on
You have to look this all over the top.
that you thought was empty on the fire.
Also
That's a
empty.
masasik. That's a masasik.
Because you didn't intend to put the content on the fire.
Yeah, I mean, there's no issue to do put a pot on the fire. This is to cook food. So the cooking was totally without intent.
So asur for him and mutar for shel acher?
No, that's masasik. It could be it's mutar even for him.
Or mutar for him.
But on the other hand, he should take it off. If he realize, as soon as he realizes, he should take it off. Okay.
The point is that the bathrooms, you go to the bathroom,
Yep.
and when you move back, it flushes automatically. And it's too late.
You gotta stop saying it.
Do your
Very
thing,
fancy
and then
hotels.
what do I do now?
Now, those are very common. Very common. They have them in this hotel.
Yeah.
When you get up from the toilet,
Yeah.
or when you move away, it'll flush.
That's the
So
same
it's a
thing.
problem. It's
So
a
you
problem.
go 5
If you
feet away.
if you know that before, you shouldn't use those toilets. Shouldn't
What if
use
you're in
them.
There's nothing
distress?
else. When they have that, there's
Then
nothing
you got the
No, you go to
distress
the one in your room.
Oh, from inside.
So you're staying in the hotel. The ones in your room and the rooms, I don't think have them.
You go with 2 kippah and you leave 1 kippah over there.
else. Not a bad idea.
All right.
Need a whole bunch.
Okay, let's skip the next one. If a person lit the light in an apartment building for you, so that in those, like in Israel where you have to press the button, so they think they're doing you a favor, so they lit it, they turned it on for you.
So that's it.
So Minadin, he says it's mutter to go down on it on Shabbos because it's not really benefit because you could have gone down without the light. But it could be there's room to be machmer or not. Do it. I'm sorry? Maybe it's better to do that. So just so they should see that you're not using it and they shouldn't do it again for you. forbidden to gamble in a soccer game. Sephardim are not allowed to gamble at all, by the way, in case you were thinking about it. There's a machlokes about gambling, if it's a problem only to gamble full-time or even part-time. So Ashkenazim hold that you can do some gambling, just not full-time gambling. But Sephardim hold that gambling from a Jew is considered geneva.
What about the Goyish lottery in America?
Oh, it's not from a Jew. It's not from a Jew.
Do you let Spartans let them play the lottery in America?
But not in Israel.
Not in Israel, no. It's correct. No, I'm serious.
Right.
I'm trying forcing that.
That's what it is. You listen, you listen. You don't, you don't. What are you going to do?
What if you're playing in a casino with non-Jewish people?
That's fine.
Obviously, you should be in a casino with non-Jewish people. But if you're allowed to play poker, let's say online, with the majority of people, 99% of people being non-Jews, for money.
I mean, yeah, it's not a very nice Torah Dika situation, but it's not stealing, no.
So what if you are you allowed to play? And it's actually a nice question. We wanted to do this, but a lot of people said they're not allowed to do it. Are you allowed to play for tzedakah? Meaning you give tzedakah. Everyone gives $10 to tzedakah. The winner of the poker game gets to put the tzedakah in whatever cause he wants.
That's an interesting question.
But didn't they say that someone who gavels is not, it's not suitable for even testimony?
Yeah, but that's a machlokes if it's any gambling or just full-time gambling. Some say it's only full-time gambling because he's not contributing to society. So, but some say no, just the fact that he's gambling is stealing. I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I don't really see a problem with it because everybody's already given it away to tzedakah. As soon as you put it on the table, it's already belonging to tzedakah.
Right.
You're just playing a game to see who decides which tzedakah gives it.
So if you, the same svara can go, I forgot what the word is. I didn't learn this again, but I remember there's a word. What's the word?
Asmachta.
Asmachta, right. If a person has intention to put the money down, for charity that this guy's going to give it to me, meaning I don't want my charity to go to this shul. I don't like this shul. Or whatever. I'm saying it doesn't have to be that situation.
I don't know.
No,
Yes.
wouldn't the same svara apply if a person is playing real poker? That I already put my $10 in, I already lost it, or I'm gonna.
No, that's not true. You want to win it. You only put it in because you want to win. You don't put it in because you want to lose.
You're saying it's tzedakah, I'm only putting it in because.
Because it's tzedakah. You're already giving it away. You don't want to give it back. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's Basalatus, no. I don't think it's Asar. I don't think so.
Well, I'm asking whether somebody who's a bookie,
Somebody who is a
bookie.
It's
His profession.
Huh? As a profession.
His profession is to take
that's a
bets.
Take bets and you.
yeah. Take bets. No, he doesn't bet his own money. He takes the bets.
No, he's taking some up, but sometimes he has to pay out.
No, of
Or
course.
most of the time, he's paying
himself.
out the other guy's money.
Everyone's
betting.
paying
Into
for
the
the
business.
Oh, he's the house.
It's the house.
Yeah. So
A
what's
bookie does theoretically use their own money because
Okay.
they're underwriting bets.
got it? Okay. So then what? What's your question?
My question is he allowed to do that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because he's taking money. Oh, I'm saying according to for Sephardim.
The leading
He's
IRS
taking the money from people who don't really want to give it up. They would really have wanted to win.
the IRS Supreme Court case that defines gambling as a profession is called Duberstein.
Duberstein?
It's a good thing he's not Sephardic.
There he was.
All right.
Ben Duberstein.
Okay, if someone shut the light in a room, you are allowed to sleep there because darkness is not the creation of turning out the light. It's simply a result of the lack of light. You understand? He didn't create the darkness. He just took away.
They turned it on.
Then you can for sure sleep in there.
This is your room, and you have no other room, right?
The point is that it's not considered benefiting from the darkness
So
because
it's
he didn't
okay.
create the darkness.
It's okay, right?
It is okay.
Can you say the same thing about air conditioning, it being the absence of heat?
No, no, I wouldn't say that.
These are their fancy streets.
So what number is it? If you left your light in the bedroom on,
So
if you're allowed to make the doors to turn it on,
we come back. and we-
Yeah.
So we want it on. We come back.
you're enjoying it.
They turn it back.
No, you're not enjoying from his malacha. Enjoying from the malacha of mechabe is if he puts out a piece of wood and you have a coal there and you use the coal. That is the actual malacha of mechabe. The darkness is just a secondary result of putting out the light. He didn't create the darkness, understand?
You cannot read, you
Stick with the
cannot
light.
benefit from that.
That's not considered a hanof from the malacha itself. It's a hanof from something that came as a result of the malacha.
It's like going behind somebody in the hospital in the door. He doesn't close the door behind you because it's
That's not so clear. There's a svara to say that also. Maybe there too, because the door is just allowing you to go in. It's not, the malacha itself. Gotta think about that. But it's still not the same, because over there, the opening of the door is what's allowing you to go in. You understand?
Yeah.
Walking through is a result of opening the door. Here, the darkness is you just took away the light. You're saying you just took away the barrier. Is that what you're saying? Took away the barrier.
it's no benefit in it.
What's the
It's dark.
door?
You cannot read, you cannot enjoy, you're just, like the rabbi said, darkness.
What's the door?
Dark.
Did you stand there once it was open? In effect, keeping it open so other people can come in?
It's a very good question. What else?
Actually, maybe you can stay there, but then how are you going to get out? I'm not so sure about what I said before.
How do you get out?
How do you get out? When you get out,
Other people come, you move, and they're the one, and there's,
you're causing them to cause it. How does that help you?
no, because.
But I'm not sure about that. Not sure about what I said before. Not sure about what I said before, because here, on the contrary, if you would stay there, then it would never close. You understand? By leaving it, you're causing it to close. So on the contrary, I would say you could go there, keep it open. Once it's open, you could keep it open. But you won't be able to leave until there's somebody else there. And that person should be non-Jewish, so that you shouldn't be causing him to cause it to close. Not from me. It's not done from him. Nevertheless, you won't get a heter from me.
So, Rabbi, about the hospital.
You will not get a heter from me. Sorry?
Rabbi, about the hospital for the door, it's better to go 3 people, one in front of you, one on back, behind you.
No, better go in from the side door that you don't have to.
There's
Use
no
any
side door.
electricity.
This is the only one. So if they
So
go one for one,
you wait for a guy to go. You don't do 3 people. You wait for a guy to go.
only okay. So don't worry about the closing.
You go as soon as it opens. You go through right away.
Here, but what you
I'm
mentioned?
saying you stop, and you keep it open.
No.
You stop. Why you stop?
There's more people, and you see them.
You polite to
Randall is
Shabbat?
coming, I don't know. So,
Okay.
Unless if it's family, right?
Okay, I'm skipping to 43. You can read all the ones in between on your own. One should not give any directions to someone driving on Shabbos. This happens from time to time.
All the time.
People ask you directions to shul,
Yes.
all kinds of things.
oh, they're doing that.
So he says you cannot do it, even if it's going to cause them to drive less, which is a chiddush, because you might think, well, at least they'll drive less. If they don't know where to go, they're going to wander around. At least they'll drive less. Nevertheless, he says telling them where to go means you have a part in that malacha. It's like a messiah. It's like you're helping them do it.
Can't you tell them not where to go or how to go, let's say it's over there, it's on the other 3 blocks over or something like that, or.
That's
on the other
exactly
side of
telling
the-
him where to go. That's just exactly telling him where to go.
Said, I'm not sure, maybe Ed? I'm
Sorry?
not sure, but Ed.
So Rabbi, instead of talking, maybe just join them to the right, no?
Won't follow
You
me.
tell them to park and they should walk behind you. That's all. Don't tell them to park. Tell them to stop right there, not to park. Stop right there. Come with me. Your car will get towed and we'll get it after Shabbos.
Are you telling them to stop? You're part of the stop.
They're already stopped. They're talking to you. What's that
So
mean?
I'll tell them to come outside from the door. You open the door for the light, Rabbi. Or it's better
Climb
to
out the
say,
window.
it's better to say, I don't
Say you
know,
don't know.
I don't know, and that's it.
Yeah.
Rabbi,
Something like
sounds
that.
that's the hospital directions.
Yeah. Hospital, yeah. You can tell them where to go to the hospital. Okay. We are going to go over to Bishul B'Shabbos. We've basically covered the issue of Ma'aseh Shabbos. Now we go to Bishul B'Shabbos. Siman Shin Yud Ches Seif Gimel in the Machaber.
It says here, אם אמר במזי לחברו שיבשל בשבת או שיעשה מלאכה עבורו, אסור לאותו שאמר כן לאכול או להשתמש באותו דבר שנעשה באיסור בשבת. So for example, if I told somebody, a Jew told his friend to cook eggs on Shabbat, so even though he wasn't the one who cooked, he's also not allowed to enjoy it.
Well, on Shabbos or after Shabbos?
Oh.
On Shabbos, you're never allowed to, even somebody who wasn't done for.
אסור לאותו שאמר כן לאכול או להשתמש באותו דבר שנעשה באיסור בשבת.
Rabbi, the one he said he didn't do the sin. The one he said he didn't do the sin. The other one, the cook, he did the sin.
Nevertheless, you can't benefit from Ma'aseh Shabbos on Shabbos, whether you did the sin or somebody else did the sin.
No, the one he cooked is forever.
Is there
Yeah,
any svara to say?
What about the one he told them to do?
Is it forever or not?
Yeah.
There's a svara to say that if the person is not religious, then it's also till after Shabbos forever, also for the other person.
The person told him to cook.
Also, yeah, because we are concerned that it might happen again. In the Shulchan Aruch, it says we're not concerned, but that was because people were religious, so we didn't think that it would happen again, that he would listen to you. But unfortunately, no, it didn't. It wasn't talking about that.
Nowadays, the Muslims say that you told
Perhaps,
them
yeah. There's reason to be strict for the people he did it for, even after Shabbos. Yes,
It's not allowed to cook the chol Hashem sakana on Shabbos.
yes,
So I have a question about the end of Siman Hey, Magan Rebbe.
yes.
Why are you concerned about the body, about Bishul Goyim, after Shabbos, but you don't consider chol Hashem sakana about Bishul Goyim?
Because the Chachamim allowed him to eat it on Shabbos because there's no other option.
And sakana, so why you?
Chachamim allowed him because he's sick, and they allowed him to eat it on Shabbos because there's no other option. Chachamim were considerate and kind people, and they gave heterim for some situations. This is one of them. Okay, back to Siman 318. We're going to start with Siv Dalet and the Siv Gimel, sorry, in the Machaber. Siv Gimel in the Machaber. Kashem she'aso levashel be'or, kach also levashel betuldas ha'or. Just like it's forbidden to cook in fire, so too it's forbidden to cook in the secondary heat of fire. For example, if you want to crack an egg open on a pot, now the pot is not on the fire anymore, but it was on the fire. You heated it up on the fire, and now it's on the side. It's still very hot. If you crack open the egg and cook it in that pot, that is considered bishul midoraisa, bishul by Torah law. It's called tuldas or the secondary heat of fire. Now, we don't usually crack eggs open on Shabbos anyway, and certainly not in a hot pot. But the practical application of this would be cooking in a kli rishon. Right? If you were to put something in a kli rishon, even though it's off the fire, that could be an issur d'oraisa. that could be a Torah level cooking, because the food in the Kli Rishon is like Tuldas or it was heated by the fire, and it still has the power to cook. And if it does cook, that is considered a Torah level violation. Kli Sheni is the Rabbanon, maybe even in some cases Daraisa. We'll see later. Maybe even in some cases permissible. But Kli Rishon is Tuldas or. Va'afilu, and here's another chiddush. So it's another example he gives, which I've never ever heard of anybody doing this today, but I guess it used to be a thing in those days. To crack open an egg on a hot piece of material, so that it, I don't know. No, sudar. A sudar is like a handkerchief. You warm up the handkerchief, and then you crack the egg on it. I don't know how you're going to eat that egg. It's just going to get absorbed. I have no idea.
You can put the metal in the sun. It's hot.
So, la'afila b'tuldas chama. And here's a further chiddush. Even if you cook it in tuldas chama is the secondary heat of the sun. The secondary heat of the sun is also usher to cook in. However, it is only usher midrabanan.
This is the Chaber, so
We're gonna get to do Shemesh soon. We'll discuss. Kegoin besuda she'ochem b'chama. For example, in a sudar, which is again a handkerchief that was heated by the sun. Aser gzeira atu tuldas or. It's forbidden because it could be mistaken for tuldas or. Meaning to say, as we're going to see, in the chama itself, in the sun itself, you are allowed to cook. If you cook something directly in the heat of the sun, the Gemara says, "Ein derech bishul bekach." That is not a normal way to cook, and therefore it's actually permissible. So you would say, well, if the chama itself is permissible, how much more so the tuldas chama, which is only the secondary heat of the sun, should be permissible, right? If the father is permissible, how much more so the son? No. There's a special decree that if you would be allowed to cook in the tuldas chama, you might mistakenly think you can cook in the tuldas or, because the pot heated by the sun looks identical as the pot heated by the fire. And the same with the sudar, the kerchief, or anything else. So therefore they forbade tuldas or, even though they did not forbid tuldas chama.
So what would be a way to benefit just from the sun? Cracking an egg on a rock, on the floor, or
like an hard-boiled egg.
Like the famous example is you're allowed to crack an egg on a car, but it doesn't sound like that's allowed. It sounds like
no. If the car is heated up before, you can't. If you cannot. If you take it out in a pot, and you crack it open in a cold, surface inside, and then you bring it out. You understand? So then it heats up. The sun heats it up. Maybe the container heats it up also a little bit, but it's.
So anything that was heated up by the sun, and then you crack your egg on top of that, or put something that you want to be cooked on top of, that's not allowed.
Correct. 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 So too it is forbidden to be matminit, to insulate it in sand, or the dust of the road, which got heated by the sun. The Gemara actually says that there's two issues with insulating it in sand or the dust of the road, because that is a davar hamoisif hevel. The sand that was heated by the sun actually adds heat, so that you could not even do before Shabbos. For that matter, the same thing applies to tuldas chama. The Magen Avraham says that chame Tveria is tuldas chama. The hot springs of Tveria is considered the secondary heat of the sun. What does the hot springs of Tveria have to do with the secondary heat of the sun? I mean, the sun is up there and the hot springs are down there. But basically, the natural heat of the earth, which is what heats up that water, is considered like chama. Meaning, say it's not fire; it's a naturally occurring heat. So to cook directly over it would be mutter. Like if you go to Kauai, is that the big island of Hawaii? Go to Kauai, and you let yourself down the crater, and you want to roast something over the lava. Go for it. That lava is like the sun, but when it heats up the water or anything else, that water becomes like tuldas chama, and that would not be allowed. So the hot springs of Tveria is a tuldas chama, which is why the Gemara says, if you remember, we had this in Reish Non Zayin, that if you have a pipe of water that goes through the hot springs of Tveria, even from before Shabbos, that's forbidden, because the water is considered being insulated by the Toldas Chama. You understand? So you couldn't do it on Shabbos, for sure not, because that's cooking. I'm sorry? Exactly. So you couldn't do it on Shabbos for sure, because that's like cooking in Toldas Chama, that's one Isser. But even from before Shabbos, you would have the Isser of Hatmana in a Davar HaMoisef Heaven. Okay. However, in the sun itself, can go in, for example, to put an egg in the sun, or to put water in the sun in order that it should be heated, is permissible. This is the language of the Rambam. And just as a side point, take note that when it comes to water, he says heating, to heat the water. And I think it's Avnei Nezer points out the difference between other foods and water. We talk about other foods, we talk about cooking. We talk about water, we talk about heating. Because according to the poskim that say, Yesh Bishul Acha Bishul Balach, the point of cooking the water is the heat of it. It's not like other things that when you cook it, it changes in a permanent way. It's the fact that it's hot. That's the issue of cooking for water. At least if you hold Yesh Bishul Acha Bishul Balach. So that's why he uses that language of to heat the water. That is what is cooking the water. All right, my friends. We're going to move on to the Alter Rebbe, who, as is his way, gives us a little introduction for the Malacha. That's a style of Alter Rebbe. Before every Malacha, he tells you a little bit about the Malacha, gives you a general overview. Mishnah Berurah does also often. And the Magen Avraham also brings a little bit of this. A lot of these things are in the Magen Avraham as well. Zion and the Alter Rebbe. Cooking is one of. We said we would do the Hebrew last time on Daniel's request. A good idea. For those who are similar to those raffles, they have a choice.
But just read it slowly, please.
Okay. Will you buy tickets for $100 per ticket to try and win 10,000 grand prize or 100,000 or some other prize? The raffle also okay. I'm not considered gambling. Here it says the Ramak. The raffles for tzedakah, are they considered gambling?
You get the answer tomorrow.
I don't know.
He's also the same thing.
I don't know.
It's a tzedakah.
Well, you mean tzedakah is the one that gets to keep it. So you're saying tzedakah is not considered stealing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like time Beit HaMikdash. There was Bishul and Shabbat. There was so it's not Bishul because it's for the Beit HaMikdash.
So that's all good when it comes to the prizes. Somebody already gave the prize at tzedakah, and whoever gives the money is giving the tzedakah, and maybe you'll win the prize somebody already gave. What about the cash prize? Unless
I
they're
thought that according to the Rambam, it's not an issue if you buy a lottery ticket or something like that.
from a guy or from a Jew.
Generally, that it's not included in gambling.
Why not?
There's no theft. When people put their money in, that's it. They've put their money. There's no expectation that it's their money.
That's a machlokes. Some say that asmachta, that gambling is considered theft because they don't really give it willingly, even though they know they're probably not going to win, but they're not happy about it. And that being unhappy is considered stealing midrabanan. That's what some say. It's a machlokes. The Machaber is strict about it. I can't say I remember the Rambam's position. Sorry?
As far as they wouldn't have put the money in if they knew the result.
Exactly. So they're not happy about it. So, yeah, if the cash prize is one that they don't have in advance, and they're taking it from the people who are giving it and giving it out, it could be a problem. I don't know. The fact that the raffles do it is not a proof that it's not considered gambling according to the Machaber, because it is a machlokes Machaber Rambam, as I said. Sorry?
What's the difference?
If they have the money already, so the people who are giving the money are giving it to tzedakah, they're never getting it back no matter what. The 100,000 in the pot has already been donated by somebody else, and that's just a symbolic gift to whoever's the lucky winner. Just like if somebody donated a watch to the auction, right? And whoever gives $5 gets a ticket to get the watch. But whoever gets the watch is not getting the money from all those people who gave the $5. They're getting it from the jeweler who already gave it to the tzedakah to give out, you understand? People who gave $5 knew that those $5 are going to tzedakah, so it's different. That's what it would seem to be with the cash prize too. Anyway, let us begin the Alter Rebbe first in the Hebrew. Hamavashlu me'avis malachis. Sheken b'mishkan hayu mavashlim samamanim letzvoya ba. A person who cooks on Shabbos, that is considered one of the primary types of labor. Avis malachis. In the Mishkan, they cooked spices to use them as dyes. There must be a better word than spices. Anybody? Samanim.
Have you ever heard of another word besides spices?
Spices.
Plants?
Plants? I don't know. We'll stick with spices for now. If this source doesn't have any other ideas. Okay, so basically, we know that all the 30 malachas are related to the Mishkan, and they used to, when they needed to make, to last shani or all the other different colors, they had to cook up a brew to make that happen. Of course, they also had to bake the bread for the lechem hapanim, but something that we only learn from the building of the Mishkan and not the ongoing activities of the Mishkan. So that's why they speak about samana. Okay. Now we continue and we say, not only cooking in water alone, but also frying and baking, latzliya and roasting, are also included in cooking. So to anybody who softens something hard with the heat of the fire, for example, a person who melts any one of the metals, or a person who heats up the metal until it becomes like a glowing coal. The same thing applies if a person just going back to the English here, one who melts wax or animal fat or tar or sulfur with fire, or if one hardens a soft item with heat. That's the next thing in the Hebrew. Sorry, shehikshe guf rach beur kegon maniach li adam beur nasik licheres chai mishum mavash. Or if one hardens a soft item with heat, for example, one who takes earth vessels and makes them into earthenware vessels by hitting them in a kiln, all of these fall into the category of cooking. Okay.
Which melacha is it? If you have a pile of liquid water or salsa that's completely frozen, you don't have to take it out and force it completely. But if it's only half, instead of liquid, you do allow it to be frozen completely. Which melacha is exactly?
It's not a malacha, it's called moiled. It's darabanan. Creating something new is an issa darabanan. But if it's just going to melt into existing water, then it's okay.
Even if it's completely?
What do you mean?
If it's completely frozen?
Then it's also darabanan, but it's not allowed. But if there's already water, then it's just going to melt into that, then it's okay. Okay. So we learned a few things here. First of all, we learned the source of the malacha, which is what they did in the Mishkan with the dyes. Second of all, we learned that it's not only cooking, but it's also baking, frying, or roasting. And third of all, we learned that it's not only about food, it's about changing the consistency of any item through fire. So softening something like metal or wax, or hardening something like taking a earthenware vessel and hardening it, taking it from an earth vessel, right, a clay vessel, and putting it in a kiln and hardening it, which is also an Issa D'Oraisa. The Mishnah Berurah says that it's not actually the hardening, it's the fact that before it becomes hard, it first becomes soft. It first softens it as the water gets extracted, and then it gets harder.
So is the malacha creating something?
No.
Changing its form?
It's changing the consistency of an item through the heat of fire.
But isn't it also malacha regarding creating something?
No. But what does it say creating? Hashem created.
But you're going from an item that is a certain consistency to another, so it's a different item.
Okay.
So
it's not a different item. You've changed the consistency of an item through the heat of fire. In general, on Shabbos, all of the malachas have to do with some form of creation in that they change it in some significant way. Okay, that's true of all the malachas in some way, right? Because we keep Shabbos the way Hashem kept Shabbos. You know what I'm saying? He stopped creating, which was always changing the form, right? On the first day of creation, Hashem created all the matter. And for the next 6 days, he was developing it and forming it, and that's considered creating. So when we develop something and form it in a way that's similar to that, that's a malacha. But it's not creating per se, but it's forming it in a way that makes it like something different. Okay. Frosting something in the sun? I mean, you're talking about liquid to make it solid, to make it liquid, like ice into water, or just frozen cake or challah?
Yeah, ice into water.
Ice into water is not d'oraisa, right? Because that is not. I mean, first of all, you don't need the heat of fire for that. That happens on its own. And the sun is not cooking anyway. So, second of all, the poskim say that. What do the poskim say? Yeah.
You what?
If you defrost water, what did you do? You just defrosted the water. That's not the fire didn't do that. You understand? You could do it in the sun too. You could do it in the room temperature. So there's nothing unique about that. Okay.
What about
So what?
ash?
There's nothing unique about that. The fire didn't accomplish anything unique.
Put in the sun, hot sun.
Same thing. Same thing.
You're allowed to? Or is that not-
You're allowed to if it's just defrosted. You can't heat it up to Yatzalettas boy, obviously. You can't put it in a place that it would eventually reach Yatzalettas boy, even if you're going to take it off before it is, like we're going to see later. But you cannot. But it's not a malacha to defrost it. Okay.
Black ice.
Make ice is a machlokes. We'll discuss it another time. Shen chaf.
It's not a malacha to defrost, but still you're not allowed to defrost something from Shabbos to prepare for the rest that come after Shabbos.
You can't do it on Shabbos itself either. What does that mean?
Hmm?
What do you mean? You can't do it on Shabbos itself either. Can't defrost water on Shabbos. Ashkenazim at least.
I just ask you.
No, I didn't. No, you can't defrost water on Shabbos. But it's not Bishul. It's moiled. We just discussed it before. It's moiled. It's creating. Midrabanan. Not Bishul. That's all. Sorry. Ashkenazim cannot defrost water, ice on Shabbos. No, unless it's going into other water. Unless it's ice in a cup of water and it's just disintegrating into the water that's there already. But you can't take a block of ice and just defrost it.
And let it just sit out.
What if it's ice within a bottle?
Within a bottle that has water in it,
Right.
then it's okay. If the bottle has no water in it,
No, the bottle is frozen.
no, you can't do it.
You can't defrost it. And just farther than.
Yeah,
You can ice cube if you want, it's just cold water.
That's fine.
Ice
Well,
cube
that's
inside
water.
that's
water.
okay. That's
But
okay.
you're allowed to take ice from the freezer and put it into a container and then bring it out to the table so that people can put it into their drinks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you drink the water? Can you drink the water that
The residue
collects
from the ice
afterwards?
bucket.
That becomes a shaila. That becomes a shaila. We'll get to that.
The ice should be put into the liquid, not the liquid over the ice.
No, that makes no difference.
So I was gonna be saying with ice cream that you let it after it gets melt completely, but let's say left on the table, come like a milkshake. You're allowed to eat it. Come like more like that's, you know what I mean?
When it's liquid, you can't eat it. I mean, depending, we're going to see.
Drink it.
With the Evid, maybe you can actually. If it's still ice, then it's okay.
That if you can use it as a spoon, you could, but if it's already like
I don't know exactly. This is all for Siman 320. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Okay. We continue. Ukashem sha'asa lavashal ba'ur kachasa lavashal batul dasa'ur. Just like it's forbidden to cook with fire, it is also forbidden to cook with the secondary heat of fire. For example, to put an egg next to a pot that was heated in fire, or to break it on a handkerchief that was heated by fire, so that it should roast a little bit. Or if it cooked there to the point of ben rusoi, which we already explained, he is chai for cooking as if he had cooked it on the fire directly. As a side point, because I don't think the Alter ever brings this down, even though the Magen Avraham does from the Rambam, that when it comes to cooking, a person is chayev if he cooks a piece of meat k'machal ben rusoi on both sides. Both sides of the piece of meat, the steak. Because ben rusoi, even though he ate things that were half cooked, or even a third cooked, but he didn't have time to cut off a slice of the slice. The whole slice had to be ready. He wolfed it down. He ran off. if you cook a piece of a slice, but you properly cook it, then you're chayiv even if it's only a kegregris, the size of a dried date.
How many grams is that?
I don't know. It's definitely more than a kazayas. I think it's like 50. Is that 50? I don't remember.
50?
I think so, yeah.
That's already kibitza.
I think it's more than a kazayas, less than a kibitza, but I don't remember exactly. I did read it recently, but I don't remember exactly. So the point is that when it comes to proper cooking, even though it's just a small amount of a big piece, that's considered something important. When it comes to this kind of half cooking, which is not really so important, if you did the whole piece that way, then it's considered important. But just part of the piece that way is not considered important. Nevertheless, it would still be aser midarabah. Okay. Let us continue in the Alter Rebbe. Even in the secondary heat of fire, for example, in a handkerchief that was heated, secondary heat of the sun, for example, a handkerchief heated by the sun, is also forbidden because of a decree that it is similar to Tulda Se'ur. Sharoya Soiver, a person who is watching, can think that it was heated up in the fire. And that's why you're not allowed to turn it, meaning to say like scramble it, on top of choil and avak drochem. Obviously, you're not going to put it directly onto the sand, but maybe with something in between. That got heated by the sun. Like we said in 257, you cannot insulate in it even from before Shabbos because it might lead to insulating in ashes, which also add heat. But in the sun itself, for example, to put an egg in the sun in order for it to roast, or to put water in the sun in order for them to be heated, because it's not the normal way of cooking, and we don't make a decree on the sun because of the fire, or because the two are not similar. Okay, my friends, let's stop here for a few minutes and talk a little bit about various issues, specifically the Dud Shemesh in Israel, which is the water that's heated by the solar panels, as well as the microwave oven. Rav Moshe has a big chiddush. Rav Moshe says that cooking with a microwave oven is an Isser D'Oraisa on Shabbos. Why? Because it's a normal way. People now cook with microwaves. It's normal. Cook. Yeah, cook.
Electric. Microwave.
Heat up, or, heating up on Shabbos is considered cooking. I mean, to bring it liquid back to that's lettuce is cooking. And even cooking, a lot of people cook things that are appropriate to be cooked in microwaves. People do that too.
The shara, because it's a laser, it's like a
What is a microwave?
So a microwave basically is a wave that makes the molecules in the food move very quickly, and that heats them up, and they cook. So they're basically there's no heat, there's no actual heat in the microwave, right? The air of the microwave is not hot, but it's the waves that agitate the molecules of the food and make them move and heat up. So it's definitely not fire. I mean, the waves in the microwave are not fire, right? That's a fact. So on the face of it, you would say, well, that's not similar to what they did in the Mishkan, right? So where Moshe's chiddush is that the reason that the sun is not considered cooking is not because it's different than the Mishkan. It's just that it's ein derech bishul bakach. It's not the normal way to cook. Meaning to say, according to Moshe, cooking does not have to be with fire. As long as you cook in the normal way to cook, that's cooking. The sun is not the normal way to cook. But if the microwave is the normal way to cook, then it's cooking.
So if you live in a community where everyone cooks in the sun,
Exactly.
then you become.
Exactly. That Reb Shlomo Zalman points that out. Shlomo Zalman points out, if you follow the line of reasoning of Reb Moshe, if it becomes normal to cook in the sun, it would be forbidden. He actually brings that about the Dud Shemesh. He says maybe heating water in the sun is not permissible anymore, because now in Israel they have it. That's a normal way for people to heat their water. They don't heat it for drinking, maybe it's for washing, but it's still normal.
They're using a device to heat it.
No.
They don't just put a pot outside, do they?
What's the difference? First of all, some of them do. Some of them are an actual black thing on the roof, and it heats up. I mean, the black absorbs the heat of the sun and heats it up.
I think the black ones only belong to the Arabs.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
I think it's they do it on purpose. The black ones only belong to the Arabs.
Why do they only do it for the
The
Arabs?
white ones are not in any Jewish neighborhood. The black ones are
Correct.
not in any Jewish neighborhood.
Why?
The black one is the color they collect. There's the ones that see all the.
The Arabs are black, yeah.
Why?
Close to it.
They
Black
have
one, you
here.
grew up with a black
The
one.
black one, the black one
They
is
collect
there.
Jewish, yeah.
What?
They still exist.
Dude, Shemesh?
They
They
collect.
used to, Rabbi,
It's
they used
like
to have
the
it
panel. And then they do it themselves.
The dude itself, what color is it?
How many colors? Another switch black.
I think
White.
Yeah, all the Arab areas, they're black. That's how you can tell you're in an Arab area.
here. 36 years ago.
Yes?
On top of the roofs, they have these solar panels, not the kind that we use today. They don't absorb energy in the same way, but it was a water heater. But what you're talking about in Israel has a tank on the roof. The reason they have the tank on the roof is because when hot water gets heated up, it goes up, it doesn't go down. So if you have a panel here, you have to have a tank here, so hot water
The
goes
panel
up
is not
and comes down.
The panel is not so.
Right, well, it has to be close, can't be below.
It's the panel like full. It's
If,
all
if,
full of
if you had,
pipes.
if you had your tank below the system, okay, you need a pump to move the water.
Always a pump to bring the water into your house. It's connected to the city line. You have pressure over it.
But if you want the hot water to come down, so you need a pump. If you put the tank up or close to it, then the pressure, it'll move it, and some will come down.
Okay. But the point is, in Israel, that gets heated from the sun. Even the panels, it's still the sun heating it. I mean, the panels direct the sunlight, so it's kind of like a magnifying glass, but it's still the heat of the sun that's going into those panels and heating up that water. So yeah, that is an argument that can be made, that according to Moshe's reasoning, that maybe you could argue should be a d'oraisa nowadays.
But when you use the water, you let cold water come in.
Exactly. That's a shaila. That's a shaila. But before we move on to that, discussing Dud Shemesh, I do want to say that not everybody agrees with Rav Moshe's chiddush, and some say that no, that cooking can be defined only as cooking with fire. If it's not with fire, then it's too different than what they did in the Mishkan. And therefore, even if everybody in the world would cook with microwave, it is still considered only the Rabbanan according to those opinions. So that's an interesting machlokes to know about. It's still asr, but it's just interesting to know about. And maybe if a person has to do it for a sick person, maybe there is an advantage to doing it in the microwave over regular.
Electricity in the microwave.
Electricity is also maybe only the Rabbanan. What if you cook with electricity without fire? Actually, before we get to that, if you cook with an electric coil, right?
For the water, right? We put the coil inside the water.
If you cook with an electric coil that heats up, the metal heats up, that is considered like fire. Hot metal is considered like fire. So that's practically speaking the same as cooking with fire. But there is a bread called panko bread. Has anybody ever heard of panko bread?
You put a current through it.
Exactly, you put a current through it. They came up with it in the middle of World War II. I don't know who came up with it. But basically, you have this loaf. I think they do it like big loaves. And then you stick one electrical rod in one end and one through another. And the bread itself becomes the conductor of the electricity. Water conducts electricity. I guess there's water in the bread and the dough. And the electricity goes through the bread, and that's what cooks it.
But then it's heated up.
So it's heated up by electricity. It gets hot by the electricity, but there's no fire. There's no hot metal. Just the electricity itself is traveling through the bread.
The ends of the electricity, the rods that go in don't get off.
I don't think so. They're like wires. They pass the electricity in, and it goes through.
Come back to the microwave for a second.
Yeah.
The only way you can cook with a microwave is if you open and close the door.
So
what you're doing is you're turning on the power.
Why does it turn on the power?
Well, when you open the door, it disconnects.
What? Why is that?
Because
you talking about the light?
The microwave.
Yeah.
You can't have it won't work unless the door is closed.
I understand, but when you close the door, that doesn't turn it on. You also have to press the button.
Okay. So
the door is just like a safety feature.
So you're saying it's similar to a dishwasher that you have on a timer. It doesn't, just by you closing the door, it doesn't turn anything on until the timer kicks in.
I'm not saying you can cook with a microwave. Only question is it a Torah violation or a rabbinic violation? It's the only question. Anyway, so a little bit about a dut shemesh, a little bit about using the dut shemesh on Shabbos. So basically, if you consider that the water in the dut shemesh is considered to be heated by the sun, so the water itself is okay, right? There would be, we don't actually put the water there; it just flows in on its own. But the issue is when you use it and you take the water out of the tank, you're bringing new water into the tank. That's the issue.
That's in any hot water heater, unless you have one designed that no water comes in.
I don't know if that's going to work, because if there's no water coming in, what's going to push the water to go out?
Well, the kind of tanks we have, hot water tanks, the only reason you need the water coming in, otherwise it creates a vacuum. But if you have a valve on the top that is open, and you turn off the water will go in.
But how does it flow? What's the pressure that?
I have one that I could do this with. You can a hot water tank will either use gravity in an unsealed system or pressure in a sealed system. So
gravity, you mean that the tank is higher than the pipes in the house, is what you mean?
Correct. In the UK, it's quite common to have a gravity tank. So you'll have the tank up in your loft. So I have a tank fairly high up in my house, and it uses gravity. It's actually pretty awful on Fridays because two people can't have a shower at once. However, if you have a sealed system, it uses the mains pressure. So I used to have in my old flat one that we could use on Shabbos if we actually turned off the inlet for the water. It isn't always recommended, but we did it a couple of times.
Right.
Real hassle.
That's what it is. I don't know if we have those in America though. If it's the heat, it has to be higher than all the outlets, otherwise it's just not going to go.
You mentioned before on the roof in Israel.
But in the dut shemesh, the outlet going water is on the outer side of the dut shemesh, because you want the hot water to come, from above. So it means when you shut the water, you get no water coming from above. Because
I see.
So our best solution is say you can still put the new water getting heat again. So maybe on Friday night until Shabbos day, there's no sun. So you're not going to join the water getting heat. It's hot from before.
But it's still Bishul.
And during Shabbos day, because of the sun again, so you're going to get warm again. So
I understand.
whatever you have until all.
One second. I'm not talking about what's going to happen to the water that you're letting in. I'm talking about the fact that when you let the water out, right? So cold water is coming into the tank and is getting heated by the water that's in the tank. See, if it's getting heated by the sun directly, that's no problem. You're allowed to heat by the sun. The problem is the water that got heated by the sun, that's toldas cham. You understand? Just like the water that got heated on your stove and then you took it off and it's in the klirishin, that's called toldas ha'ur. The water that's in the water tank is considered toldas cham. Or what? No, it got it from the chama, but it itself is toldas chama. You understand? The water got the heat from chama. That's fine. But now the water itself becomes toldas chama for something else. For it to heat something else, it's toldas chama. So that's where you have a machlekes. So I just want to say the opinion. Some say that therefore you cannot use the hot water on Shabbos in the Dut Shemesh because the water that's coming in is getting heated by the toldas chama. So you're not allowed to do that.
I have a point for that.
Yes?
And this is the collect, and this is the Dut. Here is the water coming to the tank. It's already hot because of the sun. So anything water going to the tank, it's already hot water from the sun. So it's not cold water going inside.
Yeah, but what replaces that?
Do you hear what I said, Rabbi? This is the collect. It's hot water from the sun going inside the tank.
When you use the
hot water coming from collect.
So then you're letting in cold water into the whatever you call it, into the panel. And there's hot water there that it's heating it up. Okay, so talk about there. Wherever you're letting the cold water in, it's meeting hot water. So, on the other hand, Avadia Yosef says that you can be lenient on the using the Dut Shemesh because of a variety of factors. He says it's not Bishul Midaraisa, right? Cooking with toldas cham is not Bishul Midaraisa, and it's not your intention, right? So it's like a psik reisha that you have no interest in a derabanan, right? So there's room to be lenient.
It's okay.
There's room to be lenient. He says if you could switch off the water pressure so it shouldn't go in, it's better. So Ashkenazim, Reb Shlomo Zalman, who is considered, pretty much the Shabbos, says that one should be strict on this. And he has an interesting reason, which is practical for those of you that lived in Israel, which is that when there's not enough sun, people turn on the boiler, and it's hard to know always. It's hard to know if it's just toldas chama in there or if it's toldas ha'ur. Right? People, there's a switch, you can turn the boiler on for an hour and have hot water.
You can switch the light also, Rabbi, for the room.
No, the light is the light and this is the same tank. This is the same tank that you can either heat with the sun or if necessary you can heat with
it has an immersion boiler in it.
Second, I'm not saying that he's saying that you're going to switch it on Shabbos. That's not what he's saying. He's saying it may have been switched on before Shabbos, and the water in there is therefore not toldas cham, it's toldas ha'ur. And even if you happen to know that it's only toldas cham, it's not toldas ha'ur, maybe next week it will be toldas ha'ur, and you won't be able to keep track. And therefore, in order not to get mixed up, he says not to use it. That's what it is. Questions? Yeah. Well, it's certainly, once it's a normal way of cooking, right? So even if it's not the way it was done in the Mishkan, it's still something that could lead to cooking, right? If you notice, when it comes to the chama, the Alter Rebbe says 2 points. He says it's not. Let me get the words here. There's no decree that you should not cook with the sun because it's too different, right? It's too different. It's not going to be mistaken for cooking with fire. Understand? It's too different. The minute it becomes normal, you can't say it's different. You know what I'm saying?
So then it's right, so why would it be
No.
It's still right.
According to those points, came in order to be similar to the Mishkan, it has to be fire, or told us fire. But in order to be Aser Darabanan, it has to at least be somewhat similar to that. Then it'll be Aser Darabanan. But if it's not even similar, then it'll be Mutam Darabanan. What did I want to say? I wanted to say something I don't remember. Okay. I don't remember what I wanted to say, so let's continue. Hamavashel b'chama. B'chama Tveria. Part of Neshikatoldas chama. A person who cooks in Chama Tveria, the hot springs of Tveria, is potter because it's like Toldas chama, secondary heat of the sun. However, Avalasm the reserve is forbidden by rabbinic law. Even if the food is not immersed in it, even if it's sitting above it. But you're allowed to put it there from before Shabbos to get heated up by that water. But to immerse it is forbidden, even from before. Because of this, as we explained before, and we will explain again in 326, maybe one day.
But here what it's saying is you just can't immerse it completely, but if some of it's sticking out, then it's okay.
Based on what we said before, the way the Alter Rebbe paskins, the Ramah says if some of it is sticking out is okay. The Alter Rebbe says it would have to be a majority of the wall sticking out for it to be okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be allowed to pull water from Chamet area in a bucket and then warm up something in this water. I don't know how it's going to be, but it's off the shelves basically.
Can you take water from Chamet area into a bucket, so it's like a klisheni, and then what do you want to do?
Whatever you want to do, warm up something over there.
Warm up something in a klisheni. It's like a klisheni. You're saying, are we more lenient? It's a klisheni. Once it's in a bucket, it's in a klisheni.
You dip it all in. It's
It's a machlekes. It's a machlekes.
Actually, simply rishon.
It's a machlekes. It's a machlekes.
Like the matzek.
It's a machlekes. Okay.
On Shabbos. In this bucket. Or that one is only when it comes on the fire.
Do you have a spigot that you open and goes into your thing?
You can do hatmana. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. We learned this in Rishon and Zion. You can do hatmana as long as it's not covered on all sides. You cannot take something and push it underneath in that klisheni. But if it's not underneath, if it's open on top, that's not forbidden.
The pot or the thing that I put in?
The thing that you put in.
So it should be sticking out, like the bottle of the.
If you stick a baby's bottle into a quart, you take the water from the urn, You put it into the quart, and then you put the baby's bottle in the quart. Now, obviously, the top of the baby's bottle is sticking out, so the water, the side of it is surrounded by the Klisheni's water. The top of it is not.
But the whole level
That's okay.
of the milk is covered.
That's correct.
So it's still gonna be
That's
okay.
okay. That's okay. Yes.
What would be the problem with the cliche when you put it on the cliche?
If you would do the hatmana in a way that surrounds it, then it would be to hold it down under the water. So then it would be an issue of hatmana b'davar she'einem moisef hevel.
That's still not allowed.
On Shabbos, it's not allowed.
Right, but it's a cliche.
Exactly.
When you say cliche,
Klisheni is not an Isser Bishul, right, for liquids, but you still can't do hatmana b'davar she'einem moisef hevel. It's not considered moisef hevel, but on Shabbos you can't do hatmana even if something doesn't add heat, even something that maintains heat.
even if it's cliche?
Why not?
When you say cliche, you'd be allowed to do hatmana inside of the cliche?
A klisheni is not considered moisef hevel. Right? It doesn't add heat, but it maintains heat.
So it's awesome.
If you do proper hatmana, yeah, it would be awesome. Okay. So, talking about wax, this is a very practical thing to know when it comes to Yantif. Lighting candles on Yantif, you cannot melt the wax to be able to stick the candles in their place, because that is like Bishul on Yantif. So you'll say, well, Bishul's allowed on Yantif. So I'll say, what's wrong with Bishul's allowed?
It's not ochel nefesh.
What?
It's not ochel nefesh. It's wax.
So what? Everybody has to light Shabbos candles.
Because it's not an issue of bishul, it's an issue of forming it.
What does that mean, forming it?
That you're shaping it.
Well, where'd you
Is
get
it? Is that not a problem?
I mean,
Like making ice or something?
if you would actually shape a candle, like you would soften it to the point that you actually shape it and decorate it, maybe that would be too complete. But here you're not really doing that. I mean, there's no real difference in the shape. You're just softening the bottom to stick it in place. I should know this. Just give me a moment, please. Also, Cham Ner Shel Shai V'Ladavke because of Ner Gzera Shema Yimareach. Tainu Shishafshenu La'Achlika Al Pnei Shetach HaKosel. Told us I'm a machik. Wow. Alderba says you cannot heat up a wax candle and stick it to the wall or to the candelabra because you might smoothen it. You might smoothen it on the wall, and that's a tilde of smoothening. Wow. That takes care of that.
Where is it?
It's in Hilchas Yantif, Tavkov Yudaled, Yud Aleph. Shameh? It's mashma, the fact that you're doing it in and of itself is maybe okay, maybe because Bishul is actually allowed on Yantif. But the fact that you're smoothening it, the smoothening is not one of the malachas that's mutar on Yantif. You understand? It's not a malacha that's needed for Eichel Nefesh. I'm sorry?
When women use a glass holder but they put the candle into not these long candles, but just like fills the bottom and they light it.
Mhm.
So that eventually melts.
Mhm.
Is that allowed?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. It just seems like you're changing the form. You're changing. This was a solid. Now you made it into
So what?
liquid.
You're allowed to on Yontif. You're allowed to cook on Yontif. You're allowed to light. I mean, changing the form is just part of what happens when you cook.
If you light before Shabbos, no problem.
Light before Shabbos, not a problem. Whatever happens afterwards is associated with what you did before.
What malacha is smoothing, or what Torah is smoothing?
It's what?
Smoothing.
Pretty sure that's a malacha. Smoothing the skin of an animal. It's part of there's a whole series that has to do with leather, with making leather. That's one of them.
What's the Hebrew?
Memachik.
Achik?
Yeah. All right. We're going to have to call it a night. We have 3 minutes to go, but I don't really want to start the next sugya. We are going to do Ma'ariv. And we'll do Bishul Bishul tomorrow with Hashem's help.
I'm not feeling well. I want to leave.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
I was there because only 10 people. That's why I stayed.
Okay, that's it. We'll discuss gambling another time. Not for tonight. Good evening, everybody.